Okay, so here we have ourselves from Ask Ben. And January 12th, 2020. Um, so the only thing now that we have are new nanos that I've been craving since the OG days is a map expansion. There's a small area here, maybe another there, but not one of those areas you just warp to like the city station ship. I mean, just walking around and exploring a brand new area themed with Flapjack or any other series. It'd be really cool if they can actually add in like the Townsville Zoo or the Townsville Aquarium. A slight revamp for downtown, and another thing that comes to mind that is relevant to last update. I always thought downtown was almost incredible. To this day, I really like downtown, but I think it needs to be a bit more it needs a bit more personality. I think it's pretty fine. I remember the early trailers. A player used jump pads in City Station and it had a pretty looking orange sunset. It had a lower render distance, so you couldn't see much, but now that you can see many other buildings when looking from a high altitude is great and all. But I always notice every building just looks a bit uninteresting if they all look the same. I really like that in the new update, one of the buildings was repurposed as a music label building because there's now more diversity. So yeah, I definitely do agree with that. If you guys can remember that poster when you were doing the whole Belladonna nano mission, I'll probably put up a photo there with video editing. It's showing right now. I think that was really cool for them to go add that. But it's kind of unfortunate as well because that's like the first and last time we're gonna go see that sign. But yeah, it could probably need some more decoration. To get to the point of what I'm saying about downtown, I know it's time consuming to make every building different and original, but giant floating ads with art would be amazing. Turn City Station into some sort of Times Square, just make it grand by expanding a bit the sky and adding more NPCs or increasing the frequency of cars that pass by would make downtown much more full because right now it's too much like an empty street rather than what downtown should be, at least in my mind. At least I think in terms of like lore, like we're having a fusion invasion right now, so like why would a lot of people be inside of their cars? But I can understand that. I can understand that as well. Actually, having more design to the area, more cars, more design, similar to like the Belladonna thing, more art around the place. I think something similar to the Townsville Mall, where it's a lot more lively. And Townsville Mall it kind of deserves its own dedicated video as well. We have Peachtree Commons and we have Mount Blackhead as well as Forsaken Valley, the three major hubs inside of the game. But the forgotten area, which is Townsville Mall, it needs some sort of revamped thing right there because it's great. It's great. Like it has a bank, it has your extra bank. You can purchase guide gear there. However, what else is there to add? It's a very big mall, but it's lacking a lot of stuff. So knock down a few barriers. This is not an issue at all for me, but fixing it would make the game feel much more about exploration and finding ways to access areas. Many times I go from Peach Creek Commons to the Wild, so I go over the small hill that leads to states near Foster's home, and there's an invisible barrier that is a bit too big and always gets in the way. If you knock these barriers down, people won't get into unknown or anything. It will just be easier to go around the world. There are many invisible barriers that are around mountains, and I think by all means there should, so people should not get lost or go out of bounds, but some barriers are just too big, and I feel they were practically made for small kids at the time to streamline the gameplay. Yeah, I definitely do agree with you with that. Something that I would like to go add would have to be, for example, we have this map right here, right? It would be really cool, for example, if we could actually access these small islands right here as well as here. I think people wouldn't mind if that were to actually happen. That'd be really cool. It's already nice that we have this place right here with the whole ship record gives us something to go do, but actually having this would be a nice hangout spot. I think the devs won't really mind if that were to be removed. So down the line, improvements. Some missions have the player going to fusion control centers, and even sneak in a lab, if I'm not wrong, to fight Fusion Dexter and Fusion Computress. They sound like amazing missions, but they all take place in the generic tech-looking fusion layers. The new chat looks pretty good, and now that it's quite stable, I got 100% used to it. I know it was apparently already in the game's data, but unused until now. But the friends section of the new chat is practically unfinished. You can see the style difference between the slick transparent chat and the black background friend list, and it's pretty much a leftover from the other chat, and a fix would be nice, but I'd not beg for it anytime soon. Another one that mean a lot is, if possible, to be able to see your group in the map and not just in the nanocom. I think you can already do that. How about displaying your group members inside of the map? Because it's easy to get lost since the nanocom is not too big. Themed clothes per area. I actually thought of this by playing Super Mario Odyssey, but in every world you can buy clothes themed in the area you are. You can buy caveman clothes in Fossil Falls and so on. In FusionFall, you get black swords killing a level 4 enemy, and black swords with higher stats killing a level 35 enemy, for example. Maybe you can get Dex Lab style clothing from Tech Square monsters and the K&D set at Sector B. In every area in the map, there are ultra rares, but it would be nice to also have the ultra rares have a theme with the place that you've got the items from. Yeah, that is makes a lot of sense, but it definitely kind of makes you kind of wonder, are they going to reintroduce these items there? And how are they going to reintroduce them? Additionally, something to consider is the logistics of creating brand new items. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you here. Yeah, this is a very common suggestion. So here's something from Ness. Main thing I would have said I wanted to see was a cut content come to fruition, but that seems to be the roadmap from here out, so no worries there. Another main thing I want to suggest is to be nice if future super bosses started promoting more variety in nano usage. For example, to pick off the group off one at a time is a good idea, or a boss that runs almost entirely in an affected fusion matter path, so packing antidote. Yeah, that would definitely make a lot of sense. Definitely reminds me of the whole Grime Serpents, I think, the ones that dropped the orange guitar at the really twisted infected zone. It made it very difficult because those Grime Serpents, or those serpents, they were largely nearby patches of fusion matter. So it's kind of like recommended to go bring an antidote nano. If they were to ever go do that, it would be pretty cool to have much more variety instead of. Yeah, I do agree with that. Now that would be a step in the right direction and allows us to have a larger variety with the game. I can't imagine it's easy work to tweak the powers themselves across the board, but scenarios where certain powers shine more than usual wouldn't need that sort of tampering probably. And here is a relatively long post from Dusky, and okay. So more interactive storytelling. What made Record Break-In such an effective mission, aside from aesthetics, was that the player's influence on mission events played out in real time. In comparison, classic missions would only tell you about the consequences of the player's actions. It makes no difference to me if defeating X amount of results in Y disaster being averted, because I never see or do anything unique to make it feel tangible. Even a simpler mission like Father Time was a lot more memorable because it required the player to back away slowly, an action that had immediate consequences. So it kind of reminds me of the whole Carl mission. Made things a lot more memorable because the dialogue was a lot longer. Some more fights that require multitasking. What made Fuse More such an effective mission was that it required the player to pay attention more than one thing, their own position as well as that of the monsters. As I said in my other thread, this is a really clever way to make use of the game's limited combat mechanics to create an engaging experience. I'd like to see more fights that require similar forms of multitasking. I've been playing the Arkham games recently, and one type of fight that is particularly memorable in them is the kind that involves Batman fighting enemies around him while also avoiding a second or third type of danger in the form of a higher level enemy with a different style of attack or an environmental danger. A similar principle could be used for FusionFall. Maybe the player has to destroy an object that monsters are defending, or has to fight while moving between platforms that lower into infected water. That's actually a really cool idea, and I really like how you incorporated the inspiration from the Batman games into FusionFall. I think it's really important that a lot of inspiration for FusionFall can come from other games, you know? So repeatable mission layers, this has been asked for several times, so it doesn't need much talking about. I suggested a version of it for Legacy that could also work in the form of simulations run by SACT agents with options to adjust difficulty or run them with friends. Another new type of game that could arise from combining the idea of repeatable layers with multitasking is PvE challenges, where solo or in-group players try to fight off as many monsters as possible for high scores and rewards. That would be interesting as well. Having, this was kind of suggested earlier in the thread where someone, like, let's just have like repeatable missions so we can have like infinite taros technically. More challenges in the open world for a game whose claim to fame is platforming. I kind of disagree. Its claim to fame was the crossover universe. There isn't really much of it outside of infected zones. I'd like to see more structures that are interesting to climb, or at least more reasons to climb existing structures. One thing that would certainly be popular would be more Easter eggs in hard-to-reach places such as secret snails or golden cocoa eggs. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I definitely am for secret snails. Maybe they could add one per update, similar to what happened with the mysterious vendor, so something for ourselves to go look forward to, right? As well as taking advantage of the golden egg sets. That's something that's also very severely underutilized. The whole golden egg sets, right? Like the Van Rook set, the Way Big set, as well as the Nickel Bottom set. I think that's actually really cool that they added that when the pass initially came out. There's a whole bunch of golden eggs scattered around the game. If they could add in like one or two sets per update, it's something for ourselves to actually look forward to. So more challenges in the open world for a game whose claim... Yeah, okay. So world building, the billboards and posters that were added this update were pretty much universally praised. Yes, I do agree. Cosmetics, that was already mentioned. More items that are not ultra rare or Cartoon Network related, but rather just in line with the FusionFall aesthetic. So far, most items have been accessories or themed items that everyone rushes to obtain within a couple of days of discovery, after which they lose their novelty. I'd like to see an update at some point that introduces a large amount of items at once of varying levels and rarities, and that are actually competitive in use for their levels. The aim would be to inject some much needed freshness in the game's fashion scene, FusionFall or FashionFall, motivating people to try new things, not just because everyone has it, but because they want to try something new. So yeah, I do agree with that. A lot of people like playing Dress Up Simulator for this game because that's pretty much what the game is right now, unfortunately, with the whole economy being really kind of sucking right now. But yeah, so it's a good thing he transitioned into the economy. I'm surprised to be saying it, but I do think that at some point y'all need to sit down and take a proper hard look at the game's economy. Like it or not, the end game of FusionFall is driven by the obtaining of items, be it through grinding, trading, or racing. The way I see it as a casual player that does not play overly frequently, the pool of desirable items is too small and too easily obtainable. The term ultra rare is meaningless to me, honestly. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. So like, if for example, let's just go into the FusionFall wiki, let's go into armor, let's go into shirts, and if you were to type in ultra rare, right, you would have yourselves 130 matches. I can't type in rare because it would also include the ultra rares as well. So 130 matches for an ultra rare, right? Whereas for uncommons, it's 111. So for some weird reason, there is actually more ultra rares than there are for uncommons. Here it is for, you know, legs. Ultra rare, 63 pants that are ultra rare. Uncommon, we have ourselves 97, but you know, you kind of get my point. Like there's not much difference, but like ultra rares don't really have much. It's not really rare anymore, especially with the whole buffed up drop rates when the game initially came out. Just something to really think about. And we have ourselves, there's no incentive to keep coming back to play. If all you have to do to get your shiny thing is to sink a few hours into a repetitive task or pay someone to go do it. I think an answer to this problem is racking up exclusivity. It's simple supply and demand. The harder to get, the more valuable an item becomes. That's mostly true. There are some notable examples, such as the Bandito hat, where it's incredibly hard to go grind. However, the demand is not very good. Additionally, you know, the Rodney item, relative to the gold crates, it's a lot easier. However, the novelty of the item, that it's a Cartoon Network show, it's fully animated, allows its value to really increase. But you're mostly correct. A suggestion that I originally made for Legacy that could also work for Retro, to make items that are available in missions or shops to be only available from those missions or shops. This is a first step. From there, I think that monsters just need to drop less items less frequently. So yeah, there's the whole controversial claim that items actually got buffed. The drop rate got buffed, which I can understand for and against. The reason why it should get buffed is because grinding is incredibly boring, and that we should just make it easier. However, the counter argument to that is, you know, like okay, fine, grinding is boring, but make the devs make grinding much more interesting, right? Let's use a wider variety of grinding nanos, right? Make the monster spam corruption attacks, make it have spam stun, make it much more interesting, right? So that would be a for, that would be a for and against. It's important to kind of keep neutral for this. And something that I kind of need to also work on is that something I noticed is that I'm usually kind of agreeing with these suggestions. I also kind of need to look for ways to why this suggestion could not work. Playing a form of devil's advocate. So this is the first step. From there, I think that monsters need to drop less items less frequently. I'd rather receive nothing for a while than to have to sift through dozens of worthless crates like some prospector. Hades, I even significantly reduced the amount of taras obtained from missions and monsters in general to increase the value of the currency. So I think he's just saying hell. Instead of hell, he's just saying Hades. It's true that this is a conversation feels a little silly to have, but items are very much the backbone of this game, and is an incentive for most players to keep on playing. If the process of obtaining items becomes more engaging, then more players will stay engaged. Yes, it's a good thing that a casual player actually agrees with me here. Again, I think I'm not at this point where I think it's strongly recommended that you watch the economy miniseries that I have. You know, because economy is very strongly linked with the longevity of the game. And we have ourselves community, more opportunities for interaction between the players and the devs, events like bubbles, art, and writing contests. So yeah, I do agree with that, and it creates more positive interaction. Yes, maybe once a year for the photography or writing. Maybe instead of photography or writing, it's something else entirely. Maybe some sort of video making contest or some form of meme that you can make. That'll be really funny. Or just, you know, have a contest twice a year, not once a year. Miscellaneous group vehicles, a la Wizard 101. The vehicle owner can invite members of their group to hop on. Yep, I agree with that. More scampers, especially one in nowhere. I already talked about that, but you know, one from Forsaken Valley to the Precipice and vice versa. And suggestions that may be better off for Legacy: rehauling useless nano powers, rehauling thrown rocket weapon mechanics. I already talked about that for thrown and rocket. They could probably just increase how fast the player shoots the rocket, as well as how fast like the thrown item can actually explode. So yeah, so that's about roughly 2 hours. That's like that's you know, that's that's a lot of time. So you know, that's a lot of time. So yeah, so that's the first 2 pages of the community feedback thread. I am going to not up. I'm not going to really record anything, and just upload this daily, one video a day. So yeah, thank you for watching, and you're gonna see me in like a different shirt, and probably with more hair. Yeah, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, please comment, please subscribe, and please check out the Discord server. And I will see you again next time. Bye.